Hi there, and thanks for stopping by J Wood Fly Fishing. I am John Wood, and I want to demonstrate for you today how to create a loop at the end of your fly line. Now, most modern fly lines, like this Cortland that I have here, have a loop manufactured in the end. And this is, I feel, the most efficient and quickest way to attach your leader to your fly line for fishing. But over time, this loop will get worn. It could get broken. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you may want to replace this loop. Or you may have a line that did not come with this loop. So there's a couple of ways to do that. One is by attaching a sleeve, which you can find these in several retailers. And it is a braided nylon, hard nylon sleeve. Comes in several sizes, and the loop is already preformed, and you slide this hollow braid over the end of your line. I'm going to go ahead and cut this loop that I manufactured off to show you how that works. And to use this, you just work it up the line. And it's a slow process. You have to just be real patient. Push from the loop end up on the line. If you try to pull it, it works like a Chinese handcuff and it's not going to pull. Now, because it works like that, you heard that little pop. Once you get it slid all the way up on there, it does lock in, but I like to add a couple of nail knots to the sleeve just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And that's basically what we're going to do with this here, is we're going to loop it over, and we're going to create a couple of nail knots to keep that loop from coming undone, and then we'll put just a little bit of super glue on there to hold it in place. So first off, what you're going to want to know is how to build a nail knot. So we're going to show you how to do that. Now I'm going to do this by connecting this backing to the fly line, and this is another thing that you'll need to know when you're rigging up, is connecting your backing to your fly line. So I've got those laid here like this. And I'm going to take another piece of line. This could be a leader, another piece of backing, whatever. It needs to be something fairly fine. And lay that loop in. Wait a minute. Don't mess that up. So we've got our loop out here. I haven't done this in a little bit, so I have to remember. Put your loop towards the end of your fly line. And then you've got your tag ends back here. You want to make this nice and long so that you've got plenty to grab onto. Now, this end is going to our reel, this long end over here. And then I'm going to take about 4 inches, and I'm going to pinch it right here. And then we're going to loop that over. And then I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more loops around a fly line and this doubled piece of backing. Then I'm going to run that tag end through there, and then we're going to change hands, and then I'm just going to pull this, and what that does, you can see there, it's kind of unraveling. It's going to pull the tag end of that backing right back through the loops. Now this is a little bulky, but you can see what we've done there. So now you've got all of these loops wrapped around each other. One end going to the reel is coming out off the end of the fly line, and the tag end of the backing is going towards the length of the fly line. Now before you cinch that down, you can position it just by putting your nail right up against it. You want to get it pretty close to the end. You don't want to go off the end. I want like about a 1/16 of an inch right there. Then I'm just going to grab these and pull and snug that up completely. Now I just take my scissors, clip that nice and close, and then I want to clip this. Boom. And there is your connection. And I've got just enough right there so that this nail knot clenches down on the fly line and it won't slip off. Now to keep that from unraveling, if you're like me, you like a little assurance, put just a dabble of liquid Loctite on there. You don't want much because you don't want a big blob. You just want enough to kind of lock everything in place. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and cut that, and then we're going to show you how to manufacture your loop. We're going to end up with a loop that's very similar to the one on this fly line. Now, I don't like the size of that loop. For me, it's just a hair small. So I'm going to make this just slightly larger, but you can see how much overlap they have here in these butts, the butt and the end of the line. I don't need quite that much because we're going to lock it in place with those nail knots. So we've got that in place. Now we've got a piece of our backing that we're going to use as the puller, and then I'm going to use a couple of pieces about 6" long of this 6-pound Trilene XT. I like this. It's very durable. It's nylon. I do not like fluorocarbon for this exercise, because fluorocarbon, when it heats up when you're cinching it, we're not going to be able to, get a lot of liquid on there when we're cinching this thing. And I just have not had luck with these fluorocarbon. They tend to break a lot more. So now I'm going to make the loop in my pull line, which this acts as the nail. On an original nail knot, you would lay a nail there, then you would have to feed your tag in back through between your line and your nail, which is kind of a pain in the butt, especially if you're doing backing. So using this, or you can use a piece of tippet, any kind of line, is going to make this process very easy. So now what I want to do is I'm going to have my two loops together. And then I'm going to run this line off the front. This is my tag. And then this is where we're going to put the anchor over here. And I'm going to pinch all of these together right towards the end. And we're going to make a loop. Oops, lost it. Let's do that again. One more time. I want my tag in long enough that I can grab it. And then, okay, let's make a loop there, make a loose loop, and then I'm pinching that loop onto the line and the backing, and then I'm just gonna, let's get this to cooperate. Here we go. Wrap that around there. Or this line does not want to cooperate. Sometimes you've got to train it a little bit to get that curve in it. There we go. Now it's cooperating. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I've got my original loop and then 5 more, 6 more. You don't want to get too carried away, but you need a minimum of 5 wraps on that for this to work. Now I'm pinching down on all the wraps like we did before. I'm going to run this tag into that pull line loop. I want to make sure it's far enough out there it's not going to come out. When I pull this pull line by the back end, it's going to pull that through there. And I'm just going to lightly, very lightly snug that up. And then we made that first loop underneath my thumb and forefinger, and it's a little big, and I want to just pull this, and I can feel it closing up on the back side. And then I'm going to tug this line that we went through there with just a bit. And I'm not cinching it down, I'm just snugging them up. And the reason I want to do that is because I want these loops to all be snugged up together. And if we didn't do that, we would have some overlapping and it would be a really sloppy mess right there. And we want this nice and smooth so that it will slide easily back through the eyes on our rod when we wind it in. Now that I've got that where I want it, and those are snug up, I'm going to take and put my thumb on the top side of that right there because I don't want to waste all of that tag right there. So I'm going to just pull it, and if I had cinched that up, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Now I feel like that's a little bit long, so I'm going to do the opposite here. I'm going to put my thumb behind it and then pull that down and then resize that loop one more time, and I'm going to do it again that way, looking through there. There we go. Now I want that nice and close like that. Now that I've got everything exactly where I want it, I've got enough line here that I can just pull on that and cinch it up. There we go. That's one of our nail knots. Trim those tag ends just as close as you can. And we're going to trim that butt end of the fly line right here in a minute. But I'm going to do it after we get our second nail knot on the loop. Again, line up the loops. We've got our pull, the tag ends that we're going to use to pull out the back end here towards the main line. And again, a nice long tag, 2 to 3 inches, so that you've got plenty to grab onto. And then take this longer end of that line and make a loop. Snug it down, and then I'm going to do 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I want to pinch that. Put that end through the loop on the pull line. Reach around back here and pull it through. Don't cinch it too much, but get it nice and snug up against those loops. Pull your tag in, the original tag in, so that we get it all of these loops nice and snug. And that's in a really good position, so I'm going to snug it up. Now I'm going to trim these ends. I want to trim them as close as I can. Don't worry about them coming loose because we're going to lock them down with a little super glue. Okay. Now I want to get a paper towel ready so that I don't have any disasters with that super glue. Now I'm going to take this and I'm going to trim it at a taper. Just like that. You want to use some nice sharp scissors. The reason I do that as a taper and I'm doing it that way towards the line is so that I don't have a big bulky end that will catch when it's coming back through the eye on my rod. Now I'm going to take I like this Loctite liquid. Works really, really well for this. Now, one of the reasons I like it is because I can see through the nozzle and I can see where the glue is. And I don't know if you can see that, but it just flows down through there. I can see exactly where it's at. And then you don't want to squeeze too much. If you do, you're going to shoot out way too much glue. So just barely squeeze it. And then I'm going to soak both sides of this, but I'm not using a ton. I've got like 2 drops on there. That is it. Now I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm going to double it up so I don't glue my fingers to it, and then just let me get it, dabble the outside. I want to get the glue off the outside so that I don't glue my fingers to the line when I do this right here. I am pinching with my nail in that gap between the nail knots, and I'm pinching that trimmed piece of fly line against the end of the fly line. Now I'm just going to let that set up. In about 10 minutes, that glue in between will be completely set up and we'll be ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and rush this just so we can get the video done. Now what I've done is put a loop, and this is the same kind of loop that you're going to find in a manufactured leader. And I want to put that loop over the line. I hope you can see that. I'm putting that loop in the leader over the loop in the fly line. Then grab the end of your leader and run it through the fly line loop, and then just pull this out and snug it up. And there you have a loop-to-loop handshake knot. And that right there is, I believe, the quickest, easiest, and most efficient way to attach your leader to your fly line. And this is something that's good to know, because if you're ever out in the field, you've got a loop on your line, it gets broken, it gets damaged somehow, you step on it, a fish breaks it, it's just worn out. You can do this in the field using your tippet material. You can use your tippet material for the anchors, the nail knot anchors, and you can use your tippet material as your pull line to create the nail knot. There you go. I hope you liked this. If you did, please hit the like button. If you'd like to see more from my channel, please follow me at Jaywood Fly Fishing on YouTube. Till next time, peace, love, and fly fishing.